Right, because the Jungian archetypes, as far as I understand them, are things that all humans share and Arthur really was thinking more particular to our culture. Because first thing that came up to me, for the universal archetype is the hero, which certainly is a major symbol in our society. But what you could what you could look at is then I think maybe that's more what you were wanting to do is say, okay, well, how does that symbol of hero play out in our culture, as opposed to maybe other cultures?
Yeah, like in India, I would suggest maybe a hero there would be a guru, a saint, a self-realized person.
Wow.
Not here.
Yikes.
Here to be like,
Tim
Tebow.
Who?
Quarterback for the Denver Broncos. Hey. See, I just happen to know that. My cousin had a crush on him. She lives in Gainesville when he played for the University of Florida. Quarterback, but I think I think maybe that got me started thinking about doing this topic, because it occurred to me that our politicians, what is it, these men in particular, what do they all share? What's that look they've all got? You know, that look. And what came up for me was it's coach. We love sports in this country. I mean, that may be also kind of a universal physical prowess. The Olympic Games, founded in ancient Greece.
So physical prowess is part of the hero, the universal hero ideal. Because then you look at survival. Think about us when we were hunter-gatherers and the men were going out to, kill the mastodon. Well, who's going to be your hero? The guy with real physical skills who can bring the mastodon down.
Right.
Now, of course, it's going to be like the quarterback. He's going to have intellectual skills too, but the physical skills are maybe more on display.
Yeah, especially since, as we've said many times on this show, we operate almost exclusively from fight, flight, survival behavior. We're still at an animal level of most of our behaviors rooted in flight, fight.
So anyway,
very little facing, which is love.
I wanted to just to say it's pretty easy to see that. How you can trace this out from survival, but go on with how you can look at the coach mentality. I'd like to hear more about that.
I think it dovetails really nicely with that because I think one of the things that I was thinking about this show, and I was thinking maybe a good way to come at it. What are the symbols that the American culture really reveres? What do we hold dear to our hearts? And I was thinking, looking right back at what was the message as a child. The early imprinting, going to the movies, watching TV, just being in the culture. Right. What was it? Katie was raised in a upper middle class, professional, comparatively sane family situation, so she wasn't exposed to a great deal of pop culture.
No, we didn't watch much TV.
But I went to movies all the time when I was
never saw movies really.
Oh, can't even imagine.
We read.
And two things that come up immediately for what I was, and I think you could say that that mass media, the pop culture speaks reams. I mean, you're in that upper 20% or something.
Right.
And I was on the
bottom
90 percentile.
Well, you're probably in the 40%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Barely hanging on. And I think you could say that mass media, popular, being selling tons of books, primetime television, major motion pictures that break box office records, or at least pay the bills. They pay for the production cost. That's a good indicator, I would say, of a large segment of a particular society's hallowed symbols, or
right.
our taste, and which is in turn a direct reflection of consciousnness. Can you remember that just for a second for me?
Yeah.
Because I thought of two things I want to address. One, I think religion, we should talk about that. As someone just emailed us and said, talked about religion, that we had said much on an earlier show, that religion was a reflection of our psyche, of our kind of psychological state. And I think that's very valid. And that's also a symbol we should look at.
Yes, the symbol of God.
But also to... you know who you are, who wrote us recently or left a message that said, I think he told Katie that you can't tell whether we're serious It's the second time you've said that. I'll tell you what, if we're not, this is,
We're deadly serious.
We're very serious. There's no such thing as free will. It's complete myth. Even God doesn't have it. So we're serious, just like we were serious about the other thing you thought we weren't serious about.
Okay, so you were saying that the symbols in our culture are a reflection of our state of consciousness. I think that was what you asked me to remember.
Yeah, but in particular, I was exposed to as a child in terms of mass media, which was pre-TV, my earliest childhood. And what was very clear was that one symbol that we hold dear is that violence is a viable solution to problems.
Yeah.
We are a very violent country. We are in love with violence. Whether it's the detective or the war hero or the cowboy, because those three categories, I just grew up on that. It seemed like all they made were either westerns or war movies or detectives. Hard-fisted, fast-shooting. And then throw in a musical every now and then for the female member of the household.
Well, you're throwing around so many ideas that I want to jump on that here.
Okay, go for it. Well,
tough.
let's just start with that. We'll start with violence.
Okay. Well, because actually, as I think I said last week, I'm in the middle of reading some Martin Luther King writings, and I also have a book that is a collection of writings of Gandhi about his principles of nonviolence put together by Thomas Merton, which is interesting, his introduction.
Catholic theologian.
He was a Catholic theologian, yeah. And one of the things I read last night from Gandhi was so interesting. He said that a democracy built on violence is a thinly veiled fascist state. That because violence is a form of exploitation of someone, and so that you cannot have a true democracy without it being a nonviolent basis. And I found that really, really true. It rang true with me that we're exploiting somebody through violence. I mean, right now, I think our economy is a very violent economy, that it's aggressive and it's built on exploitation of third world people around the world. And, my lifestyle is built on violence, built on the violence of aggression and exploitation of another person's life.
That's right. That's a good way to put it.
So, but our culture worships violence, absolutely. You just turn on any TV show, turn on the movies. I mean, one of the reasons I love watching foreign films is because you can see a nonviolent movie.
Yeah, there'll be a situation when you find yourself braced because you know the person's going to get attacked or killed or mutilated or tortured. And then you realize, oh, no, this isn't an American film. There are other people in the world that see alternatives to mayhem for their source of entertainment.
Right. So there might be something dramatic happens, but it's not violent, and it's so refreshing. But it's kind of distracting. I've found myself distracted more than once at the expectation of the violence that doesn't ever happen.
And look at the development. Look at the plot. It's nothing in the world but kind of warmed over WWE. Isn't that what that? I don't know what those letters stand for, but Professional Wrestling
Federation, WWF.
WWF, whatever. Who cares? It's the good guy, the guy we all agree, identify with, just gets pummeled senseless by the bad guy or guys or whatever, their manager or his girlfriend comes on the stage or in the ring. Ring, that's right, as in circus ring. And she's just down for the count, but wait, there's a flicker of life. The Terminator's backup battery
That's right.
goes on. And he just gets up and whoops butt. And we feel so good. Every classic Die Hard, Death Wish, whatever, is Mr. Evil, Mr. Pure Evil to the marrow of his bones, or her bones occasionally. And wreaks havoc and holds all the good people hostage. But then our hero rides to the rescue. When I was a kid, it was...
That's right. It's a little more subtle, but same.
Here comes the honky army, that landed on our shores and claimed the country that we've lived in for hundreds of years in incredible harmony with nature. Here they come to wipe us out, Yay, we have God on our side. And so
Well, and you can take
Violence is a solution, and twisted, sick trash. I mean, I saw something on HBO that was a promo for True Blood, which people just can't get enough of those vampires. They are so. It just does something to me to see blood gushing out of a stump where the head used to be, and blood flying through the air and gore and everything else. I mean, I can't. I just we already have shows like Autopsy, and we're aging. This cult, the American populace is aging, my age, and as we approach dodderage and death, inevitable death, stalking death, maybe by wallowing in it, we somehow think we're more immune to it, to oblivion. We've prepared ourselves. We know it. Anyway.
Well, I wanted to move on because I don't want to make it all about violence. Because where we started was kind of like in our culture, there's the image of the hero, and you mentioned in another culture maybe it's a guru. And one of the aspects of our culture, of our symbols, is a real anti-intellectual strain to it.
Amen.
And so our heroes are anti-intellectual heroes. They may have some smarts, but let me tell you, usually the smarts are totally subservient to the brawn. And that's what the violence is all about, is that the violence, it's not about using your brain to solve problems. It's about the physical. And it's all about just kicking as much butt as you can. And it's like, say, Avatar. That's, because I don't see that many of these kinds of movies. But Avatar, for me, was a great example. I mean, here were these incredible creatures on this planet with this amazing way of communicating with their whole ecosystem, through tapping into the fibers, and new ways of relating to each other. But what happens? The Marine comes in and shows and organizes them into violence, and they kick butt. I mean,
the savior, the one.
But it's like
Our hero.
Instead of tapping into this knowing, into this somehow this intelligence, they go to the physical and to the brute force, and that's what American symbols. That's what our symbol is that the intellectual. There's something suspect. There's something dangerous in the mind.
Every Western I ever saw, the smartest guy in town, the saloon owner, or he was the bad guy. He was the villain. How many mad scientists?
That's right. That's right. Can't
so
trust
smart,
those scientists. I mean, how much does this have to do with the anti-global warming, anti-evolution? Is because our culture does not trust mind.
What do we trust? Simple answers? That's
Simple.
what I think.
That's what we trust.
Yeah.
Sorry.